The organizers of today's event have made the commitment to creating a multilingual space. To that end, we have interpretation available into English and Spanish. This event will be held bilingually, so we ask that all participants speak slowly and loudly into their microphone to make the interpretation clear. The interpretation function has been turned on for this event. If you are using the Zoom application, you will see a globe icon at the bottom of your screen. To listen to interpretation, click on the globe, select English or Spanish in the language in which you would like to participate and listen to. And if you have any problems doing so, please let me know in the chat box. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Ivan y junto con Megan estaremos interpretando la sesión de hoy. Los organizadores del evento tienen la firme determinación de crear un espacio multilingüe y con ese fin contamos con interpretación disponible en inglés y español. El evento se realizará de forma bilingüe, así que le pedimos a todos los participantes que hablen despacio, en voz alta y claramente sus micrófonos para facilitar la interpretación. La función de interpretación para este evento ya ha sido encendida y si usted está usando la aplicación de Zoom, podrá ver un icono de un mundo o de un globo terráqueo en la parte baja de su pantalla. Haga clic en el globo terráqueo y seleccione Interpretación de idiomas y de ahí seleccione el idioma en el que desea participar. Si tiene algún problema al respecto, les dejo saber que pueden comentar en el chat y podemos ayudarles. Si se está uniendo a través de un dispositivo Smart, podrá ver 3 puntitos que dice más o more y luego haga clic a donde dice interpretación de idiomas y seleccione el idioma y luego aplicar o done o finalizar y ya está listo. And just a quick reminder, if you are joining us from a smart device, the interpretation option will be under the 3 little dots on the bottom right. Click on more, then language interpretation, and then select the language you would like to participate in, and then done. Okay, take it away, Sarah.
Thank you. I would like to introduce our incredible Executive Director, Jeanette Hueso, to welcome us today.
Buenas tardes. Es para mí un honor el darles la bienvenida en este espacio. Gracias por tomarse esta horita para conocer un poquito más del trabajo que estamos haciendo en Unidos por una Economía Justa. Mi nombre es Jeanette Hueso, soy la directora ejecutiva, he estado con UFE por 22 años, los últimos 6 como directora y es un honor el poder estar aquí, continuar haciendo el trabajo y sobre todo haciendo honor a los que confían en nosotros, en el trabajo de nosotros. Para el día de hoy hemos preparado una agenda pequeñita y Sara, can you put it in for me, please? Ya hicimos la presentación, la introducción de la interpretación. Como organización estamos comprometidos con la justicia lingüística para poder que todo el mundo esté al mismo nivel y no imponer un lenguaje sobre otro. Ya les di la bienvenida. Vamos a tener una revisión de los programas, una descripción de cada programa y cada trabajo que se está desarrollando por nuestra Sara, que es una de las piezas claves de la organización. Vamos a tener también un mensaje al día de las organizaciones con las cuales trabajamos en colaboración y también cómo continuar apoyando el trabajo de UFE. Al final vamos a tener preguntas y respuestas. Sara.
Thank you, Jeanette. So our mission of United for a Fair Economy is that we challenge the concentration of wealth and power that corrupts democracy, deepens the racial divide, and tears communities apart. We use popular education, popular economics education, trainings, and creative communications to support social movements working for a resilient, sustainable, and equitable economy. And so what is the problem we're trying to address? It's racial and economic inequality and inequities in the United States. And I love this resource that we have. You may have seen it before, the Government Boosts and Blocks to Building Wealth. This is on our website. I believe Jen will put it in the chat. And I think it just really shows all of the reasons why there's a racial wealth divide in the United States, all of the policies that have often boosted wealth for people who are white or who are privileged in the United States and have blocked people of color from building wealth. And we use this in our trainings. And we use this as a resource to inspire conversation and dialogue about racial inequality and economic inequality and the connections. So I encourage you to use this. And I also think it really demonstrates and shows why we're doing this work and why it's so needed in this time, and how it's also been an issue that's continued for, you know, decades and generations in the United States, and we need to keep fighting against. What is our solution? Our solution is that we believe in grassroots leadership development. And so this is, Ana Delia is here with us today. This is our partnership with ACIJ in Alabama, a recent training that happened down there, some really beautiful local leaders. And so we really believe in the base, and we believe in the leadership of the people who are most impacted to lead this work. And so we're so privileged and so honored to be able to work with folks on the ground and train them and support them in building the movement. Our programs are popular education and cultural organizing. And so that program really focuses on our trainings of trainers, of building curriculum that talks about racial inequalities and economic inequalities. The Inclusive Economies project, which focuses on the South and building more inclusive economies, especially raising wages, and thinking about barriers to low-wage workers entering the workforce and being paid a fair wages and being equitably compensated for the work that they're doing, and building leadership of the base, like I said, and then responsible wealth, which is really organizing people in the top 5% to speak out for progressive taxation and to tax the rich. And so we really see our work kind of working in the grassroots and also working at the grass tops, that we need everyone involved. This is cross-class solidarity, Black and Brown solidarity, working across all parts of the United States to build a fairer economy for all people. I just want to share a couple updates. We have a new impact report that just came out that shares about our work in 2022. So please check that out on our website. It has testimonials, it has photos, it has a lot of great information about our recent work. And we also have a new resource, which is the Economics for Everyone conversation deck that we have worked on with some of our interns. And it's a fantastic resource to inspire conversations about how the economy impacts our daily lives. And it has beautiful artwork as well. We have a digital version you can find on our website, and we're also printing a printed version of the deck as well, which is going to be available soon. And so encourage you to use this in your own life. It's great for different, community groups you're part of, churches, schools, even just personal conversations to inspire you to think about both your own identity and then how it's impacted your life, and then how to take action as well. So I will pass it over to Jeanette, who's going to share about our popular education work.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, besides to be the executive director, I'm not a traditional manager. I'm a senior popular educator. Like I said before, I have been in this organization for 22 years, and 14 of them I was coordinating the education team. So that is very close to my heart. And the last workshop that I put it in together in collaboration with Economies, one of the guru groups on popular education in Latin America, was around the anti-Blackness in the Latino community. We believe it's really important, and we have been listening from our partner in the South, how important it is to build that Black and Brown solidarity. And the only way that we believe we can do it is to learn from each other, understand our own history. And that's something that we have been doing, and was very, very powerful. The other thing that it is important is, you can see in my left side it is this beautiful picture in the back, you can see in the background, a beautiful place that we are very lucky to be part of the, one of the groups that is the finance group for Avila Center in North Carolina. Was legacy that one of our great co-worker that passed a couple years of cancer led us, and his spirit's still there. We visioning with him how this place can be used to build a movement, to create spaces of dialogue, compassion, support, solidarity, and it's something that we still are doing. So we're incredibly lucky and blessed to be part of this effort. I think next is, there are many things that we can say. I think it is in the impact report, you can see many things, but also feel free to contacting us. We can give you more detail. And if you need any information, if you have connection with other organizations that will be benefit from our program, please connecting us with them. So Iraq.
Hello. So I have the honor of being on that popular education team with Jeanette, under the leadership of Jeanette, and being the director of cultural organizing at UFE. I think we're here, as you see in the slide, Healing for Liberation. That was a particular training that we did in North Carolina at the aforementioned Avila Center on Generative Conflict. One of the things, and I don't get this question asked me as much now, but when I started at UFE going on 7 years ago, and we began in our trainings through Jeanette and facilitators then talking about trauma and its impact, talking about the need for healing in our movements, there were folks who were a little confused why an economic justice organization would want to be in this work and doing this work. And so I know for some people that's actually, maybe you're just like, no, it makes a lot of sense. And so word to you. To others, I would say, when you criminalize poverty, when you legislate oppression through sexuality, through gender, through race, and construct an economy that is in relationship with white supremacy and patriarchy, you create and have an impact on communities. The goal is to isolate. The goal is to have people not need each other or recognize how important we are to each other. And so in these trainings, you see a lot of people from different walks of life and places who are very aware of that fact, that we sometimes are taught to think, that the way to move through trauma and pain is to isolate each other, but the reality is that we need each other. And as we're needing each other, we can talk about what it means for collective care, community care, what it means to address the fact that economic oppression is harming us, not just in forms of financial abuse, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it takes a toll on community, and it takes a toll on all of us. And so Healing for Liberation is part of what we've added, whether it be recognizing, the different ways in which circle work or transformative justice or healing or using these tools can help us move forward in good ways, but also just kind of acknowledging each other in this. I think we don't do that enough. I'll say finally, through my work at UFE, and pre-pandemic more than post, but I got to travel and do a lot of trainings, and from Alabama to California to Arizona to North Carolina to New York and Philadelphia and Chicago, and working with different community folks as a movement support organization. I saw one thing that was kind of like converging for me. It was actually three, but it was one kind of like everywhere I went, there was this thing where people were having this crisis of imagination, an inability to see ourselves win, to be victorious in the fight. And so this kind of crisis of imagination, a crisis of compassion, an inability to see that so many people were actually facing this onslaught of harm. And because we were so overwhelmed and whatever the society has set up, a lack of inability to actually care for each other in ways that felt compassionate. And then lastly was like this lack, and this is all connected and exasperated through the pandemic, this crisis of connection. And so when UFE brings people together, you know, and whether we're at the Highlander Center, the Avila Center, whether we're doing circle work, whether folks are doing work out in North Carolina, Massachusetts, et cetera, you can feel palpably, and so maybe you can see it in the photos if you look, but you can feel palpably the power of connection, the power of imagination, and the power of compassion as movement, vision, and tools. And so I'll end there and just say thank you to anyone listening that is supporting the work that we're doing and continuing to support it. Thank you.
Sorry, Iraq, I forgot to show these beautiful photos of the Highlander training of trainers. I don't know if you want to speak to this a little bit of what these photos are showing.
So, you know, this particular training, it was interesting because there was this kind of overwhelming ability to read the exhaustion of the movement leaders and just really good-hearted, great-natured, good people. And we introduced a lot of music and movement and spaciousness. And in this particular moment, Dr. Ana Maria de Cruz was moving us through a mandala that we were making together. And so folks were using and making and kind of looking at what it means to make something beautiful together, what it means to take your time and breathe and connect and use your hands and all of that. So this particular moment, this is at the Highlander Center. It's really beautiful images. Thank you for sharing. I want to say this is the first time I've seen these pictures, so it's nice to relive the memory. Thank you.
Yeah, these were taken by Jessica, who we're going to hear from a little later, our new resource mobilization director. So shout out to her for taking these beautiful photos. Thanks so much, Iraq. I'm going to invite I think Gayun is next for the Inclusive Economies project.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gayan. I am with the Inclusive Economies project based out here in North Carolina. And so I'll talk specifically about the Raising Wages North Carolina. It's a coalition that I'm supporting. We are focused on organizing a worker-centered campaign to raise the wage floor to a livable wage. We aim to challenge systems of oppression, and we are building local organizing capacity among workers, businesses, advocacy, and organizations. We have been focused on raising the North Carolina state's minimum wage, which is currently $7.25 an hour and $2.13 an hour for tip workers. So this policy is keeping people in poverty, which means that people need to work 2-3 jobs just to survive. We recently, last week, just had a joint day of action with another coalition, the NC Families Care Coalition, where we had a press conference. We visited lawmakers, and we also had a workers convening to continue pushing for economic justice. And then this year we will organize a training to help rethink our campaign strategy based on assessment of current conditions. We will collaborate with an organization who is organizing working class conservative voters, and we'll also be engaging to lift up model businesses who are doing the right thing. We will, of course, continue to focus on building workers' capacity and power and to facilitate cross-sector multiracial solidarity. And I'll pass it on to Fernando to talk more about the rest of the Inclusive Economies project.
Thank you, Diane.
Should we show the video now? Or
I think
wait?
it's appropriate, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just going to exit out of this. Sorry for the technical difficulties here.
For paid family and medical leave, paid sick days, and a livable minimum wage for the working people of North Carolina. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about how this day's gonna go.
Wake County, and I'm delighted to be here today with my colleague, State Senator Greg Meyer, and our friends from Raising Wages North Carolina and North Carolina Families Care Coalition.
I'm Greg Meyer. I represent Orange, Person, and Caswell counties in the Senate. And every day that I'm here, I think about the fact that working people like those standing around me are the people that drive our economy.
My name is Jen Hampton, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm a proud organizer with Just Economics. I've worked in food service for more than 30 years, but throughout my decades of hard work, I've never been paid a living wage and never had paid sick days. I'm not sure most people realize how many food service workers don't have a single paid sick day. So there have been many times I was forced to go to work even though I didn't feel well and worried I was contagious. I couldn't afford to stay home and lose pay, or worse, risk my job. That's not only a workers' rights issue, it's also a public health issue. And as a tip worker, I was only paid $2.13 an hour, and most of that $2.13 an hour went to pay taxes on my tips. It was especially hard when my kids were young. I raised all three working in food service in Asheville, fighting tooth and nail just to scrape by. I worked so hard every day, but yet we still struggled for basic necessities like putting gas in the car, buying school supplies, medications, just you name it. And despite working 2 or 3 jobs at a time, I had to rely on SNAP or food banks to keep food on the table.
Right now, nearly 4 in 5 people in North Carolina have no access to paid family leave and medical leave through their employers. And nearly 1.6 million workers in the state don't have a single paid sick day. It's nothing short of an emergency for working people all across the state.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That was super powerful.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for showing that video. So I have the privilege to work for the Inclusive Economy project that we focus on basically movement support and and conveners, you know, in between UFE, right, within the work that UFE does. So IEP, as we call it for sure, it's one of the organizations that have been coordinating and facilitating the Raising Wages Coalition since 2016, although for a while we also support USSW or Raise Up, that they were facilitating the coalition. And the video that you just saw is a video of that collective work with many organizations in North Carolina that we are fed up with the lack of action for legislators and the poverty wages that our workers, our people, our family have to go through. So I'm very thankful to Guyan for coming on board and supporting and facilitating basically the lobbying day or advocacy day that you just saw the video for. And we will be able to answer questions or hear your reaction at the end, but the Raising Wages Coalition is one of the coalitions that we coordinate and support. In addition to that, we still support the Living Wage Certification Network that is there are multiple programs across the country where people work directly with businesses that made a commitment to pay living wages. And coming up in July, we're gonna have a planning retreat right here in Avila, North Carolina. We also have the privilege to work with other partners in North Carolina that are equally concerned about the lack of mental health services and support for our communities. Like my coworker Iro was speaking earlier on the Healing for Liberation program that UFE has. Following their guidance and their inspiration, some of the members or partners in North Carolina asked us to step up and support some sort of collective that will bring people together to continue addressing the lack of mental health services in North Carolina, with a special focus on young people. So we also facilitate and coordinate the Community Healing Initiative for Love and Liberation, or CHILL, which is, like I said earlier, a collective that brings people together to host mental health retreats for young people. We do it twice a year. Early March this year, we had the third one, because we actually started last year, in which we have hosted these retreats in North Carolina, working with primarily Black and Brown young people, high school age, to create spaces for them to come and share with other peers the challenges that they have as young people, especially coming out of the pandemic. So we have been able to combine healing justice, the use of circles, with also some other mental health training, such as QPR, which is a tool that the young people can acquire, some sort of certification that they can get that would allow them to be more equipped to ask some of their peers and family members when they suspect that they might be considering to harm themselves. Basically, it's a suicide prevention tool that they get at QPR, which stands for Question, Referral, and Persuasion. So we have been able to combine those two tools. So CHILL is another coalition that we facilitate in North Carolina. We also have facilitated training for about 19 young adults on circle keeping. So they can become also circle keepers for their own community, their own peers, at a school, at their family, at any congregation that they may attend. So that's another thing that we're doing under CHILL, and also monitoring some other either legislation or lack of legislation that can support mental health in North Carolina. And then the last thing I would say about IEP, and this is not only IEP, is UFE as a whole, because we are able to work with other staff in UFE, but we partner with the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, and Anadelia will speak a little more soon, but we were able to partner on a grassroots organizing school in Alabama, or GOSA for sure, in a way that we can intentionally work with Black and Brown workers, right? That we intentionally work with Latinx or immigrant workers, and also with some, organized labor as well. So the idea is to bring some people together in these trainings, and we are very proud of work of GOSA. We already have facilitated 3 trainings actually this year, but Anadelia will speak a little more on that. So I'm gonna stop right there for IEP, but later on I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Fernando. Anadelia is the executive director of the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, who's been partnering with us on this GOSA organizing school. Anadelia, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing about your partnership with UFE and a little bit more about this new exciting project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to name what Iraq mentioned earlier. Before the pandemic, when they were traveling to different parts of the country, Alabama was one of those states. And at the time, I was a member of the Leadership Council for the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, which is really, really fancy way of saying that I was a volunteer or voluntold to come. And it really resonated when he said, when Iraq said that, UFE was acting, and in my opinion, continues to act as a movement support organization, because that is the greatest descriptor for this relationship. By way of Fernando being an Alabama organizer years and years ago, we met at one of the training of trainers at the Highlander Center. And from there, I later met, well, I met Janet there too, but we lost touch, and then we rekindled again in last year, maybe a year before that. But we started talking about possibilities. And in Alabama, we have a gap or a organizer desert, especially organizers who are bilingual. And one of the things that we were really looking at as an organization was if we don't have leaders, how do we help people recognize their leadership and then go through the necessary trainings, and more than trainings, just that walking with, embarking on that journey so that people can eventually become organizers for, very selfishly, our organization, ACIJ. Our experience with United for a Fair Economy through the Grassroots Organizing School of Alabama has been a game changer for the organization, but also for the leadership in our community. People see now that, and we feel that we are not alone. There are ways to challenge the system while at the same time you are lifting and shifting power in the state, but you're also making that time and that space for healing, for recovery, for talking circles. And the hardest work is really facing ourselves in the mirror before we can face each other. So we're doing a lot of introspective work as far as anti-Blackness in the Latinx community, our own biases, but then also stretching that leadership, stretching those presentation skills, and stretching the roles, active roles, as you come and build community with. Through the partnership, we have been able to see and learn through modeling what it is to build different committees, what it is to build leadership, and very immediately participate and become part of the host. And a great example of that is building the community altar. When United for a Fair Economy and ACIJ first hosted, when we hosted the first workshop, very few of us had experienced a community altar. And the people who did experience that for the first time shared later that it was very powerful. And one of those community members is now our active altar keeper, and they are actually ready to share that very seriously taken role with other people in the community. So we're learning by doing, but we're also learning by seeing the modeling. And I really want to lift and appreciate E-Rock for giving me the language as to what this is, because indeed it has felt as a walking with and not leading, and definitely not a parachute in of leadership and building community and building organizers, but also building within our beautiful work, our very beautiful and difficult work, the art of space for healing and the space for rest. So I think we should brand that. Well, not we. UFE should brand Movement Support Organization, because that's exactly the experience that we have had here in this partnership with the leadership at United for a Fair Economy, and under Janet's leadership, where I see myself in a lot of the things that she does, because I'm not your ordinary executive director. I am very hands-on. Working with people, working with community is one of my fun things to do and one of my energizers. And to see another woman in the role that Janet is very empowering for me as a rising director, transitioning and finding that happiness within being an executive director, but also being a forever facilitator and a forever organizer. And for that, we are deeply, deeply grateful for.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ana Delia. That was beautiful to hear, and so appreciate all the work that you're doing, and grateful to be in partnership with you. The last program I'm going to speak about is Responsible Wealth. Our beloved director of the Responsible Wealth Project, Mike Lapham, is currently on an extended sabbatical. So we're in a time of some reflection and rest, and I'm trying to figure out kind of what's the next direction for Responsible Wealth. Responsible Wealth is a membership organization, so we're so grateful to our members who help to fund the work and to speak out as wealthy people in favor of increasing taxes on the wealthy to go to public support. So increased funding for education, infrastructure, wealth redistribution, all of these things we need to address inequality in the United States. And so this is an old photo, but a good photo, I think, showing some Responsible Wealth members in Washington, D.C. advocating. And so we actually have an upcoming event. We've been working with Tufts students. They have a consulting firm, which is really awesome, and they provide consulting support to nonprofits for free. So we're very grateful. And they have been basically assessing the landscape of progressive tax legislation in the United States in this year, 2023. And they are going to be sharing with us next Thursday, May 11th at the same time, 2 to 3 p.m. And they're going to be sharing about some of the states that they found that they feel are really ripe for some organizing and for Responsible Wealth members to get involved and speak out for taxing the rich. And so they will be presenting next Thursday, and we're excited to kind of hear from them what they recommend, what they think is important to focus on. And we also continue to kind of have an eye on federal taxation as well. Continuing to push for the billionaire income tax is something that Responsible Wealth has been working on for the past couple of years and will continue to push for on an ongoing basis. So that's the update about Responsible Wealth. So please join us if you can. And so now we're going to move on to action steps, how to support UFE. But before we go into the details, I would love to introduce our new resource mobilization director, Jessica Paulino. I'm going to be heading to graduate school. And so I'm so grateful for the past 4 years I've had at UFE. It's been an incredible experience. I'm so grateful that I've gotten to know so many of our donors and supporters and community members, and very grateful to this amazing staff for being coworkers and friends and comrades in the work. I have a lot of gratitude, and I will continue to be around, as I've been saying, and continue to be part of the UFE community. And I'm very excited to introduce Jessica. This is her first week. So she is brand new, but she actually participated in our training at the Highlander Center last year. And so she's familiar with our work and has felt the impact of it personally. So I want to turn it over to Jessica to introduce herself.
Buenas tardes, saludos, soy Jessica Paulino. Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Paulino. I'm so excited to join UFE, and as Sarah mentioned, I was part of the Train the Trainers at the Highlander Center last fall and was left so inspired by the work that UFE is doing, also just by human connection, as we deal with this pandemic that we're still in. But I'm just really grateful. I'm born and raised in Boston, between Boston and the Dominican Republic. That's where my parents are from, daughter of immigrants. I'm very proud of it. And I'm excited to see what we can do together. Super grateful that I've been here while Sarah is still here. She's been a wealth of knowledge and just very kind. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you and seeing how we can partner together. And I'm going to drop just a link to my bio if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jessica. So join us. There's many ways to get involved in our work. Obviously, donating, supporting is hugely supportive. We rely really on our individual donors at every level. From any amount you can give is such a huge help to us and really allows us to continue this really transformational work that we're doing. You can also become a Responsible Wealth member. Like I said, we're going to be having an event next week to kind of decide on or start to learn about what we might work on as Responsible Wealth in the future. Another thing that I think is really powerful is to shop at a living wage certified business. And so especially in North Carolina, where the wage is still $7.25, which is an unlivable wage. There are some businesses who are taking a stand and saying, we'll pay our employees a livable wage. And you can look online and see which businesses are certified as living wage businesses. And I think that's a really powerful way to say that, you know, it is possible to run a business and do this and have that impact on the community. You can also host a UFE workshop in your community and use our curriculum on our website. We have a lot of resources to facilitate these conversations that need to happen. And then finally, you can participate in a training of trainers. We do have a training coming up at the Highlander Center. I know we have a long wait list of folks who want to come, but we're always interested to hear from people who would like to attend our training, and we'll add you to the list. That's a 4-day long training. So it's a really in-depth way to get to know our work and participate in popular education and healing justice. And what does your donation support? So if you give to us, what is it making possible? I think something that's really important to lift up is that all of our trainings are free. So much, you know, so many opportunities out there, you know, even if you're an organizer, you have to pay for, you know, transportation or lodging or food. And we really work to make our trainings as accessible as possible. We provide simultaneous interpretation in Spanish and English. At our trainings, we use like the Avila Center, other training facilities. We provide stipends to workers. So if they have to lose time of work, we'll reimburse them for that. We provide food, childcare if need be. And so we are just really working to make our trainings available to the folks who are leaders on the ground and who we really want to be in these spaces. And so I think that for that reason, giving to UFE is a way to really support the movement, build the movement, as we've been talking about, in a really direct way. And to, as a model as well, to other organizations, that this is what we need to do to make our movement more inclusive. And so, yeah, I'm really, really proud to say that we're just centering that in our work and our model to other organizations of movement building. So that's the end of our presentation today. And so grateful for everyone who joined. I think there may have been a bit of a scheduling glitch because we had many more people registered that don't seem to be here. So apologies if that was my fault in terms of the scheduling, but we plan to share out this recording with many of our donors and supporters. And so I'm excited to be able to share the link and share. I think it was a really inspiring presentation. So thank you so much for being here and joining us. So I'm going to open it up now to if anyone wants to add further comments, questions, we can just kind of open it up to, we have about 10 more minutes. So just an open conversation with the folks that we have here would be amazing. So if you have a question, if you can raise your hand, put it in the chat. I can start with a question. I would love to hear from everyone here of why do you think why is it important to support movement building work in this time in 2023? Why is this, you know, you can give to all different kinds of organizations, right, that are doing great work, but why support UFE? Why support movement building? Why do we need to continue and sustain this work?
I can go.
Fernando, thank you.
Well, I like that we are defining and we are actually engaged in movement support, because when I personally think about movement, I think about the people that are most directly impacted, finding ways to organize themselves, either to resist, right, any attacks on their own communities, or to engage in a process for making you know, systematic changes to the way, you know, things are. And oftentimes people come to this movement because affect them directly or their family members, and they are looking for a place to connect themselves, pretty much like self-interest, right? Like people look for other people who have their own self-interest. And oftentimes they're looking for organizations that are already in place, but many more times they don't know where to plug in, and they just start getting themselves organized. So there is so much you could do without some sort of support, right? Whether it is experienced facilitators to accompany the process, whether it is anchor organization, fiscal sponsors, if people are trying to build some kind of structure. Trainings is one of the things that people ask me a lot for. How can we plug into trainings on whatever issue they're dealing with? So the point is that how can we accompany those efforts to the next level, right? What is next? What is next in order to make changes? What is next in order to take action? And not only UFE, but I see many other movements, support organizations out there being side by side in communities and actually not taking too much space, just listening and looking for resources that people need, and accompany the people at their own speed, right? And their own needs, not telling people what to do. So it is very important for us as oppressed people who have come from the struggle. Many of us have come to this kind of work without even knowing what a community organizing is, right? Because we had to. So it is very important for us to think about how can we support that to make sure that people have the tools they need to go to take this to the next level, whichever that means, for them at that time in that community.
Thank you, Fernando. That was beautiful. I'm like taking notes.
I can add a little piece, which, if you can see the history of anything that we have been changing happened because a movement is behind. And I really believe, it is possible that build a fair economy movement when everyone, everything will be equitable. So that's one of the key to be a movement support organization. It's not gonna happen individually. It's gonna happen in a movement. And a movement is like every forces have to come together. And the first step is education. And we have that, so.
Y yo pienso que para agregar poner un granito de arena, el trabajo que nos oprime está muy bien financiado, está muy bien organizado, y el trabajo que nos oprime va a vivir y va a perdurar. Y donde nos hace falta la inversión es a la resistencia. Donde hace falta la inversión es a la sanidad, porque es difícil hacer el trabajo cuando tenemos privilegio. Imagínense en cuán más difícil es hacer el trabajo sin el privilegio, sin un sueldo justo, sin vivienda segura, sin tener acceso a salud o seguro médico. Entonces, la inversión a organizaciones como UFE es esencial, como dice Janet, es parte del proceso que necesitamos, es parte de la infraestructura que necesitamos para entonces sí agarrar vuelo y llegar hacia un punto de cambio. El cambio, como dice Janet, donde ha habido resistencia, ha habido cambio, pero cuando el pueblo se resiste, cuando el pueblo se une, el otro lado también vuelve a atacar. Entonces, es una carrera larga, no es una carrera corta, es algo que muchos hemos visto por todas nuestras vidas. Cuando yo me politicé fue cuando yo estaba en la secundaria, era una adolescente, y aquí estamos muchos años después de que me gradué de la prepa, todavía luchando contra las injusticias. la inversión a este trabajo es lo que nos va a ayudar a llegar a una liberación colectiva.
Wow, some powerful shares today. Thank you, Fernando, Janet, y Ana Delia. So for me, when I think of social movements, I think of sowing the seeds of change. And, you know, lots of movements have made the impossible possible. It's a lot of hope. It's a lot of organizing. And to your point, Ana Delia, a lot of us come to this work because of the family ties, right? So for me, it's been that. I was a community organizer way before I realized I was community organizing as well, and talking to my mom and, you know, her coworkers about injustices is part of the reason why I actually went into human resources. You know, I come with a background in global human resources, and I always say I put the human in human resources, right? I'm more about educating the workers on their rights and the ability for them to access either programs or financial support than it is for me from the company standpoint of protecting the rights of the company. I think they do a great job at doing that. But thank you so much all for sharing. And I really feel honored to be here today.
Anyone else have a question or want to add in on that topic?
I'm wondering how UFE can make connections and decide which organizations it will be collaborating with. It seems to me, especially I'm thinking now of this caucus, this dissident caucus within the Farm Worker Union FLOC, just formed within the last year, trying to democratize the work within that caucus and within FLOC, but that means workers coming that they've created a board, and they're trying to do a lot of training, but these are rank and file workers, and they're working 6.5 days a week, for one thing. But as far as it's hard for me to imagine them seeking you out and saying, well, here's what we know we want. Can you do this for us? I'm wondering if it's not rather your connection with them and being able to follow them and see where they are, and then at opportune moments to say, you know, we could help with that. So I'm just wondering how, and there are dozens of organizations out there just in North Carolina that might benefit from that. I'm just wondering how you can connect with and stay in touch with and learn about those different organizations and see an opportunity when it arises.
Sure. Janet, you want to share?
Sure, I can start and you can.
Okay.
I think one of our strategies that we have been using is talking, you know, is open those doors and listening what is going on right now. What is they looking for? What is the need? And what do we have that we can support them? And that has been very, very helpful. I have been working for several years with several unions and also workers centers, where exactly like you said, they're working 6 days, but there are some particularly pieces that they really needed and they figure it out. We usually don't work 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. We work at night. We work weekends, accommodating at the time of the people needs. So it's something like, you know, we have plenty of information. We have a lot of resources, a lot of material, but we try to tailoring specifically for the groups. And that's, I think, one of the success that we have been having is making that connection, because we made it especially for them, for the audience. We don't have one recipe work for everybody. We made it specifically for, the group. That's what is important to really listening and identify the audience. And that we make the material to make it relevant to them. So,
Yes.
Fernando?
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep it short along the line of what Janet has said, that there is no one recipe or something that works for everybody. They've basically have, we've been in the community for a long time. We have been organizers for a long time. And we primarily work with the partners in that area where we live and work. And also, I mean, people reach out to us as well from areas where we don't work. And we, like Janet said, we keep an eye and a pair of ears to listen. And if we don't have the capacity to support that at the moment, we look for other opportunities in the future, or we make connections to other people in those particular communities that they can help them. But when it comes to, for example, the members of the Raising Wages Coalition, the Living Wage Certification Network, CHIL, GOSA, we have relationship with many organizations in those networks and coalitions. And, when we have that kind of relationship, we're able to hear from them what their needs are. For example, the Raising Wages Coalition, we have been working for a long time with Leticia Zavala and Justin Flores. Just last year, I know that they were doing some organizing, and you, I believe, were part of that in North Carolina for the convention, that whether it was going to take place in North Carolina, Ohio. And we have support to the best of our capacity, the work that they're doing. Me and Leticia check in on a regular basis. And I have come in the past to Wayne County to facilitate trainings as well, when they ask us to do it, and depending on the topic that they need the training for. But we are in relationship with people, and when we are not in relationship with people and people get referred to us, we always have an open mind and heart to hear what their needs are. For example, right now, I'm going to be talking with somebody in the future in Wayne County, North Carolina. They're looking to connect around tenants' rights, right? And the housing crisis that we are facing right now. We perhaps don't do that organizing ourselves, but we also are part of other collectives, right? So I'm going to be taking that meeting and taking the time to listen to that person and make sure that we refer them to the resources where the resources are. But when it comes to the kind of support that we offer, if we don't have the capacity, we always look for somebody else, within our networks. Janeki reminding us about the social capital, right? All of us are very rich in that sense because we know somebody who knows somebody that does that kind of training or provide that support. And that's what we like to do to connect. But yeah, it's amazing what the workers are doing right now. The farm workers are doing. I'm following very closely what Leticia and the other folks are doing in North Carolina. And I believe that you and I have sitting in circles together in the past as well. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thanks. And it's good to hear you're staying connected well.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. I'll pass it to you to close our circle here.
Yes. Well, this has been very intimate, and I think that is how it's working better, because I'm pretty sure people that joining us, it'll be next time, bring us more people. We are recording this, so it'll be a good tool to go back and see and learn. And this, you are gonna continue listening from us. So I just want to say thank you again for taking this hour, listening our work, and continuing supporting us. All your support is investing in a very good way. So I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. Thank you. Hope to see you next week when we are talking about the future of responsible wealth, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.